Thank you for joining the meeting of the RTC's Bus Shelter and Bench Advisory Committee. Madam Chairwoman, staff is ready for you to begin the meeting.
Thank you, Reagan. Good afternoon, everyone. Chair Erin Breen for the record. I'd like to call to order the February 18th, 2021 meeting of the RTC's Bus Shelter and Bench Advisory Committee. RTC staff will begin with a roll call of committee members and introduce staff on the line.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Reagan Lively, Management Analyst for the RTC for the record. I will be calling your name in alphabetical order. Please confirm your attendance as I read your name. Shannon Arhat.
Here.
Audria Saline.
Present.
Erin Breen.
I'm here.
Rosita Castro.
Rosita Castro, present.
Vincent Richardson.
Present.
Rick Skipton.
Here.
And Robert Stauffer. Oh, Robert, I believe you are still muted.
Here.
Thank you very much, Robert. Please note that we have several RTC staff on the line for today's meeting. This includes Mr. Carl Scarborough, Director of Transit Amenities and Technical Equipment, Mr. Bridge Gulati, Director of Capital Projects, Ms. Ellen Marcial, Manager of Transit Amenities, Mr. Joe Damiani, Manager of Engineering, Mr. Andrew Kelman, Manager of Transportation Planning, and Wycliffe Mudambi, Manager of Fixed Route Operations. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Reagan. The first item on the agenda is citizens' participation. Mr. Scarborough.
Carl, I believe you are muted.
Hate it when I do that, Reagan. Thank you, Chairwoman Breen and members of the committee. Carl Scarborough, RTC Director of Transit Amenities and Technical Equipment. The first item on the agenda is to conduct your first citizens participation period. As you know, on March 22nd, 2020, the State of Nevada Executive Department issued Declaration of Emergency Directive 006, which suspended the requirement to have a physical location for public meetings. Pursuant to Directive 006 and for the health and safety of the community, this meeting is being held telephonically. To allow for public participation, the RTC is accepting public comments via email at publiccomments@rtcsnv.com. Comments can be submitted to be read aloud or to be added directly to the written record. Mrs. Reagan Lively will read the public comments received by the RTC.
Thank you, Carl. So this is the first time set aside for public comment. Comments will be limited to the first 500 words, with the remaining words to be included in the written record. Do we have any comments?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Reagan Lively, Management Analyst for the RTC for the record. There are no public comments at this time.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item, which is to approve the December 17th, 2020 meeting minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to read their minutes? And are there any comments or questions from the committee? If there are no comments, I'd love to entertain a motion from the floor.
Motion to approve the minutes as stated. Shannon A. Hartz for the record.
Thank you, Shannon.
Dr. Vince Richardson, I second.
Thank you very much. We have a motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you so much. Item number 3 is to receive an update on projects, financials, and job creation created to roadway funding through the fourth quarter of calendar year 2020. And I'm just going to totally repeat myself. Sorry. Through the fourth quarter of the calendar year, Mr. Joe Dominani will be providing this presentation.
Thank you, Chairwoman Breen. Joe Damiani, Manager of Engineering for the RTC, for the record. Following an unprecedented year, we are here to provide the committee members with the quarterly roadway funding update. With the ongoing pandemic, we are continuing to monitor the impact on our projections. Reagan, can you go to the next slide? No, is there a presentation with this or no?
Joe, there is not a presentation for this item.
Oh, okay. I thought there was, but that's okay. So when it comes to our all of our revenue sources, tax, motor vehicle fuel tax, fuel revenue indexing, since 2014, when the fuel revenue indexing program kicked off, there have been 522 projects have been started, with 275 of those being completed. The number of projects completed before fiscal year 2019 only included FRI projects, since we did not track completed projects for the other funds, which we then started tracking all roadway funding projects in fiscal year 19. So we currently are reporting 522 total projects. 162 are in design, 85 are in construction, and like I said, 275 are completed. And then since 2014, we have awarded more than $1.6 billion in roadway contracts to local jurisdictions from sales tax and fuel tax. With that, 1.5 billion is in fuel tax and 85 or 86 million is in sales tax. And we also keep track of dollars under contract compared to our total roadway revenues and expenditures. So as in fiscal year 21, we are projecting a total revenue to be about, this is rolling, continuous from 2014, of about 1.8 billion. And with that, we've issued, like I said previous, total contracts amounts over 1.6 billion. And we have expended on those contracts a little over $1 billion to date. And then we also keep track of jobs based on the actual expenditures that are going on for the roadway projects. So based on the amount of money that is expended, we estimate there's more than 10,000 total jobs have been created or sustained during the time since we've been tracking this. So just a little summary. As of December 31st, 2020, 522 projects have been awarded, 275 have been completed. Roughly 78 local small businesses have been put to work. More than $1 billion has been spent on roadway projects, and more than 10,800 jobs have been created, direct, indirect. And as a reminder, all of the 225 initial fuel revenue indexing projects identified in the as of the 2014 initial funding were completed as of the end of 2019. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Joe. Does anyone on the committee have any questions?
Hi, this is Briseta Castro. I just thought that there was also going to be a slideshow to this. Is there any way that there's any reporting that I could have regarding that information, or somewhere I can just physically see those numbers, if maybe emailed to me?
Brisita, you'll get minutes from the meeting that will have all those numbers in it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And if I can, Aaron, Madam Chairwoman, if we could, I guess I will check with our government affairs, and we potentially could include the slides in the minutes.
Terrific.
That I was going through, because this presentation was provided to the board, so it's not like it's not public record. So.
Well, that would be wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Madam
And-
Chair, this is Reagan Lively. I just wanted to cut in. I do see the presentation. I can email it in slide format to the members if you would like me to, and I will also add it to the meeting minutes.
Well, I would appreciate that. I'm sure Brasida would appreciate that as well. I think one of the reasons, and the comment that I was going to make is, that's really impressive. And if anyone has the opportunity to share those numbers, the data provided with other people, especially, this is a time that you want to be touting the good that's coming out of, especially the fuel revenue indexing. Gas prices are going up. People are going to be complaining more. And boy, when you can point to 10,000 jobs, that's hard to argue with. And, that's so yes, please, if you would send out those slides to everyone, that would be terrific.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, Reagan Lively for the record. I will send that immediately after this meeting.
Thanks so much. Does anyone else have questions or comments?
This is Rick Skipton. I was wondering, it's really impressive that we completed these projects from 2014. I was wondering if there's somewhere where I could look at the list of projects that are still outstanding from 2015 to 2021. I know at some point when I was working on the bike and ped plan, that there was a list of index projects that we had been given that had been proposed. I was just curious if there's an updated list somewhere that is available, or is that not public knowledge?
Yeah, actually, I update. There's a, and I'll probably have Reagan send it out. But on our website, on the Streets and Highways webpage, there's a section where you can go to. It's the, I'm trying to pull it up real quick. It's the current RTC funded projects. If you go to the Streets and Highways page and you go to the quick links on the RTC funded projects, there is a current list of projects at the bottom of the page that have a PDF of projects that are in design, projects that are soon to advertise, projects that are advertising, and projects that are in construction. So that would be the list that we'd be talking about that are still active and open. There's also a list of projects completed, but that's not a full list of the completed projects. It's just a rolling list as projects roll out of the other phases. They get put on there and then they come back off. But so that is available on our website. And if anybody has any questions regarding that, you could reach out to me directly, and I'd be happy to go over any of the information with anybody.
I apologize. I was trying to pull that up as you were describing where it was, and I missed where it was. Could you? I'm on the website. I'm on the projects and initiatives page. Has current projects and completed projects.
No. So on the left side, click on Streets and Highways. Streets and Highways.
Okay. That's where I went wrong.
It's okay. And then on the quick links on the right side, the second bullet, current RTC funded projects.
Okay. All right. I will find it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Anyone else on the committee have questions or comments? Mr. Damiani, thank you so much for your presentation. We'll move on to our next item, which is item number 4 on your agenda. And it is to receive an update on the 2021 to 2050 regional transportation plan. And that will be Mr. Andrew Kelman.
Thank you, Chairwoman Breen. Andrew Kelman, Manager of Transportation Planning for the RTC, for the record. This item is to review the Access 2050 Regional Transportation Plan, or RTP for short. This plan was approved by the RTC board last month at their January meeting. So this is just really to provide a review of the plan and this committee an update. Next slide, please. Federal regulations require the RTP to be updated every 4 years. The RTP must have a planning horizon of at least 20 years into the future. And this proposed plan, or this adopted plan, looks out to 30 years. With this long-term outlook, the purpose of the plan is to forecast the long-term transportation needs for our region's surface transportation system, and then identify the specific projects and programs for implementation during that time. Next slide, please. The process of developing the plan started 2 years ago when the RTC conducted a transportation vision survey. Hearing from our community is central to ensuring that it reflects the priorities of residents. To gain this insight, a survey was conducted which received over 12,000 responses when it closed in December of 2018, making this one of the largest reviews ever conducted of local preferences about transportation. Next slide. One of the main findings of the Vision survey conducted 2 years ago was that residents want more investment in all forms of transportation. Responses to multiple questions in the survey showcased the need for investments in roads, transit, bicycle, and pedestrian facilities. And this is key because the majority of survey respondents identified that they drove their own vehicles that they owned every single day. Next slide, please. In terms of prioritizing transportation investments, with the majority of respondents being car owners, many residents describe a desire for improvements in road maintenance, improved safety, and fewer traffic jams. But importantly, a majority also support investments in transit and walking and biking infrastructure, even people who drive daily. And just a note on this graphic, survey respondents were able to select more than one option, so they don't add up to 100%. And these are the top 5 priorities out of 8 total options. So transit and biking and walking both rank very high on the survey. Next slide, please. The survey findings were then synthesized and used to guide the development of the overall RTP document. Access 2050 was developed with a focus on implementing the survey priorities into guiding the overall mobility strategies. So you see that the 5 identified primary strategies closely match the top survey priorities that we received 2 years ago. There are also secondary strategies in the plan, and these have been assembled through coordination with local, state, and federal agencies to ensure Access 2050 meets the long-term transportation planning needs of the region. Next slide, please. And then it should also be noted that these strategies for the RTP were not developed in isolation at the RTC. This table shows how the plan reinforces similar goals developed and included in comprehensive plans from each of the local entities in Southern Nevada, as well as the Southern Nevada Strong Regional Plan that the RTC is the core administrator for. Next slide, please. The Vision survey was also key in developing the onboard mobility plan. So this is the onboard mobility plan slide. It's not really displaying correctly on your screen. Onboard identifies how enhancements to the current bus system, high-capacity transit, biking and pedestrian investments, and emerging transportation technologies can improve future mobility for our residents and visitors. So you may have heard about the onboard plan in previous presentations. The individual projects that make up onboard, and there's 64 projects in onboard, are included on an unfunded project list as they represent our region's future mobility vision, but they do not have an available funding source at this time. And that is a common feature of regional transportation plans nationwide, is to have an unfunded project list. And onboard will function as our region's unfunded project list. Next slide, please. The primary purpose of the RTP is to identify the long-term transportation needs for our region. As one of the fastest growing regions in the country, our needs will largely be driven by forecasted continued population growth. Southern Nevada will surpass 3 million residents by the year 2050. And this graphic displays the location of that forecasted population growth. And as we can see, most of that population growth is concentrated outside of the 215 Beltway, where new development is occurring. Next slide, please. And so what this does is this rapid growth in population can then strain the region's transportation system by increasing automobile travel. All areas of Southern Nevada will experience significant increases in auto travel over the next 30 years. The largest increase in travel will be additional trips occurring just outside the resort corridor area. And so that's the area in red. And so this area in red will experience a 66% increase in new automobile travel over and above today's levels. Next slide, please. To meet these regional growth challenges, the RTP proposes a balanced investment program of over 200 projects. And this map helps provide an understanding of what projects are included in the plan. And this is an important note, is that the plan does not include every single transportation project. It only includes those projects that will utilize federal funding and some of the larger locally funded projects. Also, some projects can't be displayed on a map, such as additional funding for RTC's transit fleet and safe routes to school programs. We can't put those projects on a map, but they are included in the plan. And projects in Mesquite and Boulder City are not displayed simply because of the map scale, but they are included in the plan as well. And so the plan contains 188 projects. Next slide, please. All of the projects included in the plan help get people to the places they need and want to go. One way the plan achieves this is by reducing congestion. And we can see this by comparing the no build and the build scenarios. These maps both display traffic in 2050 and show that the RTP has a significant impact on reducing congestion. Next slide, please. Another way of looking at these same benefits is at the individual level. Average time spent driving is currently 32 minutes per day in Southern Nevada, or it was pre-COVID. By the year 2050, that will increase to 36 minutes per day with this plan's investments, so with the projects included in the RTP. But if you take those projects away and do not do those investments, daily travel would otherwise increase to 42 minutes per day. Next slide. Another central benefit of reduced congestion is improved air quality. Per federal regulations, this plan must not contribute to any violation of air quality standards. This plan has met these standards by demonstrating that travel-related emissions are less than the established budgets for carbon monoxide, PM10, and ozone. Next slide, please. So in summary, all of these various inputs fed into the plan, and the document outlines a vision that results in safer roads, fewer delays, more choices, and a stronger economy. Next slide, please. And that concludes my presentation. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have about the Access 2050 RTP.
Thank you, Andrew. What a huge document to summarize in 5 minutes, right? And it has huge impacts on our community. When you think 66% more travel in the core of the city, you can see why this effort was so important. So with that, does anyone on the committee have questions or comments for Andrew?
Madam Chair, this is Braceta Castro. And Andrew, thank you so much for that presentation. I think more, it's just a comment for me. You know, I am amazed with you know, just all how our transportation is handled, and it's such a privilege to be a part of this committee. But I think also what I am seeing and hearing, you know, and wanting to think ahead and just to properly plan, of course, you know, our economic our economic stance will grow, and you know, we will have more folks, but along with that, we should also have more housing. So I guess this question kind of maybe goes to, or if someone could direct me to other resources to kind of learn more about that, of the development of the county. I know there was a whole there's a Title 30 a change that's going on. Is that maybe somewhere where I could find that information? Or I guess my question is, what does the county's future hold for development and expansion of the county?
Sure, Chairwoman Breen, through you, Andrew Kelman, Manager of Transportation Planning, for the record. So I believe Title 30, you're referring to the Clark County code update that they are currently undergoing right now. So they're doing a plan update and a code update. And yeah, that is related to this regional transportation plan. And so once that plan and code update are completed, we will then coordinate with the county to ensure that that is reflected in the next RTP update in 4 years. Because we were reviewing their currently adopted plan and code for development of this document. But just to speak more generally about where we get our population forecasts and housing forecasts, that all comes from UNLV CBER population projections. And we coordinate with Southern Nevada Water Authority and SNRPC, and we all jointly use those same UNLV CBER population projections. And then the RTC convenes what's called a land use working group. And so we take those population projections all the way out to 2050, and then we identify where in the valley that growth is going to occur. And so we do that in consultation with all of the cities. So North Las Vegas, Henderson, the county, the city of Las Vegas. And so then once we have spread that growth out in the valley to reflect local agency comprehensive plans, that's when we start running our travel demand model. And so we put the future roadway network on top of that future population growth. And that's how we can see how the transportation system is going to perform in the future.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for explaining that. And just for clarification, the UNLV CBER, can you spell CBER for me? I just want to be able to search it myself.
Yeah, Chairwoman Breen, through you, I believe it's CEBER, and it's the Center for
Business and Economic Research.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Does anyone else have questions for Andrew? So as someone, I was just sitting here doing the math in my head. I've lived in Las Vegas, I hate to say this out loud because I'm totally dating myself, for 58 years. And you just don't realize how much growth can happen in 50 years. And when I graduated from high school, when I tell you there was nothing west of Rainbow, I'm not kidding. So I don't know how much further we can build out because of Bureau of Land Management in the mountains, but eventually I think we have to start building up. But this is an exciting project, and certainly appreciate the work and all that goes into that, Andrew, and everything that you and your team and all the people involved put into trying to, you know, that's what makes our community function is transportation. So, but it's also a great point to how we have to look at alternative modes of transportation, because that's a pretty scary map looking at all of that, how far out that goes and how many new people are expected. So while it's incredibly exciting, it's also a little frightening. So with that, we're going to move to item number 5, which is to receive an update on the progress of the Maryland Parkway Bus Rapid Transit Project. And that will be Mr. Bridge Galati. So Bridge, you're up.
Thank you, Chairwoman Breen. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Bridge Galati, Director of Capital Projects for the record. So we've recently begun design on the Maryland Parkway Bus Rapid Transit, or BRT project, and I'm happy to provide an update to the Bus Shelter and Bench Advisory Committee. Reagan, next slide, please. Thank you. The proposed Maryland Parkway BRT will replace the existing bus route 109 that currently runs on the corridor. The new BRT route, which is planned to extend from the McCarran International Airport in the south to the Las Vegas Medical District in the north, is approximately 8.4 miles in length. And the BRT route is planned to be funded by the Federal Transit Administration grant. Next slide, please. The BRT is proposed to have 44 transit station locations. The shelters for these locations will be designed with consideration to comfort, making sure that there are adequate number of seats, proper shade, and accessibility. The branding for these shelters will be unique to the BRT route, creating a sense of place along the route for our customers. The shelters will also be designed with ADA compliance in and around the shelters with ample lighting for safety. And most of all, our goal is to provide our customers with all of these amenities with attractive shelters in a cost-effective manner. Next slide, please. The BRT will be designed to operate in exclusive outside lanes for majority of the route as shown on the screen. Please note that the cars will be able to use these exclusive lanes to make right turns in and out of the driveways and also at the intersections. Additionally, to improve safety, raised medians will be constructed in segments where they're currently non-existent. Environmentally friendly artificial desert plants will be installed in the medians for aesthetic treatment. Next slide. The pavement will be repurposed and reconstructed as needed along the BRT route. Pedestrian and bike safety improvements would include replacing or repairing sidewalk panels where needed, widening sidewalk where right-of-way is available, and creating bike lanes where possible. Americans and Disabilities Act upgrades would include sidewalk ramp reconstruction, ensuring that the path from the nearest cross street to the transit shelter is clear of obstructions, providing adequate traffic signal pole clearance, and also ensuring that the height and the reach of push buttons is compliant with the ADA Act. Next slide, please. Through a comprehensive procurement process, we've selected GCW as the prime design consultant for this project. GCW has a team of sub-consultants for different aspects of the design, as noted on the slide. It's noteworthy that 7 of the total 16 local firms are disadvantaged business enterprise or small business enterprise and will meet the 6.6% goal set by the RTC. Next slide, please. Now the information on the overall project schedule. The 30% design is expected to be complete by July of this year. 60, 90, and final or 100% design are anticipated to be complete by February, July, and October of next year, respectively. We're also planning to bring a contractor on board in June of this year to start the pre-construction activities. Once we have the final design ready, we'll begin construction at the end of 2022. We estimate the construction to last approximately 2 years to have the project ready by the end of year 2024. Next slide, please. To summarize the next steps, the designer is currently in the field data collection and processing phase. We anticipate the 30% design to be complete by July of this year, as previously stated. As we progress further into design, we'd like to come back to this committee to provide you with an update in August and get your comments and feedback to incorporate in the design. Overall public outreach will begin after the 30% design is complete in July. And we anticipate the construction activities to start at the end of 2022 and complete at the end of 2024. Next slide. This concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Bridge. And we would love to have you come back in August and give us an update of how things are going. And
Sure.
I kind of hesitate asking this question, but I have to.
No, please.
Any possibility that you know, we have a new Secretary of Transportation who is very pro alternative modes of transportation. So could that potentially change this project at all?
With our board action, we have chosen to move forward with bus rapid transit. The only aspect of the project that can be changed is essentially depending on the overall cost. If it comes under 300 million, we may request new starts, which is essentially going over $300 million for capital projects. That's the only change I can foresee so far, given our board action.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hope springs eternal, you know. Does anyone have questions or comments for Mr. Galati?
Yes, yes, I have a question. This is Big Tradition for the record. I was under the impression that that project was going to be a light rail. Is that not the case?
That is not the case. Our board had taken action that it would be a bus rapid transit.
Right. Okay. I have another question, if I may.
Yes, sir.
So I see that it's going to be what, a 2-year construction? Is that
2
going to be
years.
done like 2 years? Is that going to be done in phases? Like, for example, you're going down Maryland Parkway. Is that going to go from Tropicana to Sahara to Charleston, and so on to get downtown in phases, or is it going to just be one rip up of Maryland Parkway for 2 years? The whole.
No, that's a great question. And obviously I can't answer that with 100% certainty, because once the CMAR or the contractor comes on board,
Right.
we will have to work that sequencing with the contractor. But in our previous experience, it's always been that the project of such magnitude has to go in phases so as not to disrupt traffic along the entire corridor.
Right. Well, thank
So
you.
yes, it will more than likely it will be done in phases. So we handle construction in one segment and then move on to the next segment.
Thank you. Great presentation.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Are there other questions?
Yeah, this is Shane Hurts for the record. Hi, Brish.
Hi, Shannon.
Just a quick question in terms of the station design. Is there any special approaches or design techniques or any special technology that's being used to improve or to increase safety for those stations? First,
Yes.
in terms of pedestrian, the queuing passengers and so on.
That's a great question, and we're currently working with an architect to address all of the concerns you just brought up. Obviously, safety is paramount for us to keep our customers safe, and so we are discussing all and every single aspect of safety within the confines of the shelter. And obviously, by the time I come back to provide you with an update in August, huge developments will have taken place, and hopefully I will be able to show you what we have worked in the design up until that time.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Hi, Chairwoman. Sorry, this is Bracita Castro. I had a question for the presenter, but also, you know, you asked that question about if there could be any changes. So then that kind of got me thinking, Madam Chair, what changes could arise from that? So I just wanted to get clarification.
Oh, I was being stubborn, and I apologize. This has been a long process, the design of Maryland Parkway, and what I was really asking without asking, but then someone else followed up with kind of the same question. I was trying to determine if, with new potential, if we might go back and revisit the light rail in place of bus rapid transit, but the answer to that was no. So that is completely understandable that the board has made their decision, and their decision will stand. So,
well, if I may, Madam Chair. So it's not just. I'm sorry, I'm getting a lot of static back. Okay, so the board took the action to go with LRT was strictly based on the financial aspects. So it wasn't just the capital costs of building the project. It has a lot to do with ongoing operations and maintenance of alternative, say, LRT. So even if RTC were to reapproach that that subject, it's not just the capital cost that's the issue. I believe it's the operations and maintenance of ongoing maintenance and operations costs. That's going to be a big issue as well.
Yeah, and that's why you guys make those decisions instead of the road users like me. So, and you guys have all those answers, and you know what the cost is going to be. So, Rosita, I hope that answers your question. And
Yes,
if not,
it is. Thank you.
okay, all right.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Does anyone else have any more questions? And thank you, Bridget. I'm sorry I put you on the spot.
No, not a problem. It's my pleasure.
So, Rick Skipton, question. This may be a better question for August. I did notice when I looked at the brief map that you had shown that there were separated bike lanes, looked like curbs on both sides. The design of that and the facilities available to bike riders, is that something that we will be talking about in August?
We will. And what you see as a concept that was shown on the screen is actually from the EA. And as we progress into design, we'll be showing you more realistic picture of what a bike lane might look like. It may not look like what it was shown as on the screen as a separate. So we're considering different options of accommodating bike lane, and one of the options may be similar to Sahara project, where bike and bus lanes they use the common right of way as the shoulder lane.
I see. Well, I guess I was one of the things I was wondering about was the walk signals. Today I don't think there's anywhere in the city where I don't have to get off my bike and get onto a sidewalk in order to press a walk signal. And if there are lanes like that, it would be, and we're doing this redevelopment, it would certainly make a lot of sense, like many other cities have the buttons there for bicyclists. So we'll talk about that in August then, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a great question, Rick. And regardless, this is going to be a great improvement for Maryland Parkway. So, but we certainly hope that we're making everyone feel safe on that road. Maryland Parkway's changed a lot, and so this will be a great project for the community.
Couldn't agree more.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, Bridge. Item number 6 on our agenda is to receive a presentation from RTC staff on the COVID-19 transit data, and this will be Carl Scarborough.
Thank you, Chairwoman Breen. Carl Scarborough, Director of Transit Amenities and Technical Equipment for the record, and I found my mute button this time, so I don't have to do half of the presentation twice. We just kind of wanted to bring you guys up to date on a few things that we've been working on in response to the pandemic. Reagan, do we have the PowerPoint? Yeah, there we go. So a couple of different efforts that we've done. Obviously, as a transit agency, we have felt the impacts of the pandemic as well. Our customers and our employees and our contractor employees. So you can go to the next slide. Oh, nope, I guess you have to go back. So one of the first things we did is we put in infrared camera monitorings. There's 8 entry points at our 6 different facilities for employees and vendors to use, so that when you come in through the door, you stand in front of the green screen, the infrared camera reads your temperature, and tells you if you're okay to enter or not to enter. So far, the system is working very well. We'll see what happens when summertime comes along, but basically it's using a video analytics. It's taking 12 to 24 different readings at different points on your face when you come in, and the algorithm comes up with your body temperature and tells you if you're good or if you're warm. If you're warm, we ask you to wait a couple of minutes and then try rescreening. The advantage of having these remote systems is we can have employees monitoring all 8 locations remotely, so we don't have to ask employees to be staffed at every checkpoint and then coming into close contact with people as they come into the building. So it's a sanitary set-alone system, and it's remotely monitored, and it works pretty well. Whenever somebody does come in, and if they test hot, we get a notification of that at our remote monitoring site, and then we can follow up with that facility or the appropriate contractor's contact to have them do a little discernment of, is that person really hot? Did they rescreen or did they go on by? So it's a pretty good system in terms of reading people's temperature as a determiner of if they're safe and healthy to come to work. Obviously, a lot of that goes into people doing a personal wellness check before they come to work. So that's one thing that we've done. It's up and running. If you look at the number of thermal detections or screenings that we've had and the number of alarms, it's less than 1%. So it's been working pretty well. Not a lot of false positives. Again, we purchased that through AT&T, and it's also Hitachi is the camera manufacturer and the technology manufacturer. The next thing is real-time bus capacity, and so we've partnered with our the manufacturer of our passenger counter system, and the company that does our Ride RTC app, so that you can now see when your bus is coming if it's full or sort of full or not very full at all, so that people can not only look at the next bus at the bus after, and when you're waiting for a bus, if you've got time, you can make a decision. If this bus is really crowded and the one behind of it isn't, do you want to wait 20 minutes for the next bus? So we're trying to put some information into the hands of our customers in making decisions about which bus they get on. We are currently limiting capacity to our buses at about 50% of normal capacity. So when you look at mini seats being available, that means of our available capacity, 50% is open. When you look at some seats, that's somewhere between 50 and 90% of available capacity. And of course, anything above 90 is going to say very limited seats. Although even on those full buses, you may see some empty seats. It's just that we've reached the capacity that we've set because of the pandemic. And then obviously putting that information into the hands of our customers so that they can take action with it. We felt like that was very important. And then on the back end, as we add fill coaches into routes where coaches are very full, this gives us real-time information to see where those full buses are and add extra service to be able to meet that ridership demand. As we start moving along through the summer and we anticipate ridership's going to start increasing, that's going to become very important to us as we add those extra buses in. And another way of limiting interaction between customers and drivers or physical interaction, we've launched the cash to mobile payment system. You can go to one of our approved retailers and use cash to load credit onto your transit app. And then you can go and use your app on your phone to pay for your fare without actually having to handle cash or have our driver handle cash. So it gives people without a credit card the ability to access the same mobile pass that other customers can, and doing that on a cash basis. And we think that's very important and an important feature for our customers. And then the last thing that we wanted to just mention is that most recently, it became a federal mandate to wear a mask on public transportation. That happened on February 1. We've actually been requiring that since June, and we enforce it, with our drivers and our security officers, that when you get on a bus, you have to ride a mask. And we've made some adjustments in the policies to define a little bit more about what an appropriate mask is. So Scarves, bandanas, ski masks, masks with any slits or holes, those are not approved masks. You need to wear an approved face mask to help eliminate the possible spread of the virus. Obviously, people with ADA defined disability are exempt from the policy, and trying to be transparent about how the pandemic is affecting our ridership, our on-time performance, and our revenue. So if anybody wants to go to the RTC website, they can see that. And obviously, if you want to go to rtcsnv.com/coronavirus, you can see and stay updated on our health and safety efforts. And that concludes my presentation. Any questions?
Thank you, Carl. Does anyone have any questions from the committee for Carl?
Carl, hello, Madam Chair. This is Bracita Castro. I just had a question for that. Thank you so much for that presentation, first of all. For the Cash to Mobile app, is that directly to the mobile, so you have to have a smartphone, or are there any cards involved?
Right now, there's no cards involved, so you have to have a smartphone. Through our passenger surveying, you know, we have in excess of 80% of our customers have a smartphone.
Okay.
So we see a lot of availability there. There will be a percentage of the ridership that will still have to use a traditional pass and put cash in at the fare box, but we're trying to expand that. We hope to, at some point, look at having a contactless card that we can use, you know, for cash or credit transactions and get away from the paper passes, but we're just not there yet, but we are working on it.
Okay, yeah, and you know, it's interesting, and I ask more because a family member of mine just told me that Mexico City is actually doing the same exact thing because of the pandemic, and you know, their metro, they have a metro and all of their transportation, so they have never had to keep track of that or anything. So they're also moving to a card for the first time ever. So it's a really big change for all of its users. But yeah, you know, definitely just wanted to ask. I mean, that mobile app, and if it serviced 80%, you know, there's still that 20% left that we have. But yeah, good to know that it is going to expand.
And we're always going to have to provide for those customers. One of the challenges for Las Vegas in implementing, you know, a card system for all your riders is that so many of our customers are not Las Vegas residents; they're visitors, and that population base turns over every 3 to 4 days. Trying to get those folks to invest in a card or have a card to support them is always going to be a challenge. But with the mobile app, if we can get them to use that. Maybe cards for local residents if they don't have a mobile app. Hopefully, at some point, we can, you know, catch up with everybody else on who's the leaders on that effort.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions for Carl on this item? I tell you, Carl, that standing in front of the green screen and monitoring it from somebody else and somewhere else and getting to check. I mean, that's like Meet the Jetsons kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's really all the things that we never knew that we were going to have to learn in 2020.
You know,
so
we started off looking for a way to screen passengers before they got on the bus, and the technology is just not there for that yet. But you know, protecting customers by, you know, screening our drivers and other employees, you know, is a good effort and a good start to that.
Well, I'm sure that you're right that it's only the start, but hopefully you won't have to go all that way, that this will get contained before then.
Yeah.
She says optimistically.
Yeah. Well, we are investing in some improved air filtering on the buses. And not only does that address the pandemic, and we'll come back later and brief you guys on that. Not only does that address the pandemic, but, you know, going forward for cold and flu season, anything we can do to keep the air healthier in the buses and keep our riders healthier, I think, is a long-term need.
I could not agree more. So with that, we're going to move on to item number 7, which is to discuss topics of interest. And I'm turning it right back over to Carl.
And thank you, Chairwoman. This is the time for Bus Shelter and Bench Advisory Committee members to share information about activities, meetings, news, or any other topics of interest in an informational matter. While no action may be taken on the subjects discussed, this item provides an opportunity for the exchange of information and may serve as the forum to recommend future meeting agenda items.
Thank you, Carl. Does anyone have comments, questions, anything you would like to bring to the committee's attention? I always wait first before I jump in because I always have something. But I have a cool thing this time, you guys. And please, if you could reach out to me, you could reach out to Carl, to Reagan, whoever, if you would like to be invited to this. But I just want to let you know that on March the 18th, which is 1 day shy of a year late, we originally, and I may have even told you about this a year ago, we have a terrific documentary that was done about our pedestrian campaign that was fall 2019. It's a 25-minute documentary called My Best Friend, A Pedestrian Story. And it's really a lovely piece. And last year on the 19th of March, it was supposed to have a red carpet premiere at Galaxy Movie Theaters, and we all know what happened to that, right? So we finally took a really hard look at, because I kept trying to wait to do the big movie premiere, and it really became evident that that was not going to be possible until that project was more than 2 years old. So we're doing it virtually on March the 18th. I would love to send you an invitation. It will be followed up with a panel discussion on pedestrian safety in general in the state of Nevada. The good thing about it being virtual, the silver lining, if you will, is that it's going to be premiered statewide. So we'll have people from Northern Nevada joining us as well. We're going to follow that Thursday, the 18th, with the following Thursday, the 25th, with a morning workshop that will take place and again virtually, break into Northern and Southern Nevada. You don't have to come to both of them, but if you're interested in attending either one, our goal is to look at the current issues in Southern Nevada and get some input from all different walks of people to give input to people like the RTC and to each of the entities, and see what the good ideas are out there that could possibly help us contain our particularly fatalities, but crashes in general that involved people not in vehicles. So in our city last year, we had 63 pedestrians lose their lives. That's the official count. That's not, the real number is even higher than that. We had 10 bicycle fatalities, and as you know, 5 of them all at once last year. Every bike fatality in Nevada happened in Clark County. So we're just going to be taking a look at started off with this amazing documentary and to open the conversation, and then have a follow-up workshop the next week. So if you're interested, please reach out, let us know, and we'll get you an invitation to that. So anybody besides me have something that they'd like to announce or say or comment on today?
Chairwoman, thank you so much for that. This is Brigida Castro. Oh, sorry, I'm hearing an echo.
Oh, yes, I think it's Mike.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I just want to thank you for your words, and I know I've been talking a lot today, but I haven't been able to come to some of the meetings, and I just truly want to show my appreciation again to be on this committee. I am very invested in community and in safety, and actually last year, this year has not been easy for all of us, and I'm definitely one of the people that loves to be outgoing and meet people and just have laughs and be with community. So, I feel like I'm not alone when I say my mental health has, been a little off. I miss that. And uh, I actually got the privilege also to work at the election department last year, um, alongside amazing leadership like Joe Gloria and Lorena Portillo and Gabriela Muros, amazing people. I learned so much. And it was primaries, it was in May. And, this is just a quick story. It's taken some time to process and overall how I felt about it. But, you know, primaries were coming up. It was May and I felt really overwhelmed. And I decided, hey, I want to go out for a bike ride. And I live on the east side of town, right off Nellis and Bonanza, right, Nellis between Stewart and my brother had just gotten me a bike. I had just gotten a helmet. So I was like, all right, right on. I'm geared up. My bike has lights. Let's go. And, you know, to conversate, or we already knew about the pandemic. And so I was wearing a mask, and I went up Stewart and I turned left onto Sloan. And I have beautiful memories of a horse track that's there. And so I rode there just to make myself feel better. And on the way there, I was actually filming because it was just such a beautiful moment that I was having. Um, I was recording to just keep and maybe share on social media. And I heard a car driving up. So, I stopped and I stopped recording for respect of this car so I wouldn't catch their license plates. And this car actually yelled and threw a drink at me. That moment was so dehumanizing, to already be on the edge of a mental breakdown of some sort, of just feeling the pressure of the elections, of the community, and, just wanting to breathe and feel okay. And I get a drink thrown on me, and, I have pictures and I have that recording of barely the car driving by, and I capture the tip of the car. And I'm I'm almost 30 years old. I'm a 30-year-old woman who went out for a bike ride and got a drink thrown on them. And I, as a teenager, I never threw drinks, I never egged anyone's house, because my parents raised me better than that, and because I never would do that to someone. But someone's kids and someone just out there, this group of kids threw a drink on me. And it was from Subway, which was right down the street off Charleston and Sloan there. And, I grew up in that area. I love that area. That's my community. That's, where I live, where my family lives. And I want the safety for all. And I have nieces and nephews, and, they're starting to get on their bikes and they're having a hard time too. And if I myself can't be safe in these streets, I notice that my side of town doesn't look like the other side. We don't have those fancy trails. We barely got a trail in Hollywood. And I just want to be able to feel safe without having to carry a knife, without having to carry a stick with me. And I just want to be able to feel safe in my community. And I see the difference. And, we can say that it's this or that, but I just want all of us to be able to feel safe. And I don't know if it's, what this is, but I really hope that this year people have taken time to really appreciate what we do have. And it's the little things that we have, like our family, and just really hoping that things can change for the better. And again, I just want to show my appreciation of this board and my investment of my community and my city and my state and my country, because being able to be here and the opportunities that we have, we really take them for granted. And I am committed to making that change and pushing for it, wherever that may be or wherever that is. But, I do this to volunteer, and I'm sorry I can't make all the meetings. It's hard to, get away from work and be able to jump on these. But, you know, also having virtual things has created accessibility. And at the end of the day, what I want is just accessibility for all. And I just really appreciate this moment. Thank you.
Rosita, thank you. What a moving comments. First of all, I can't tell you how much I appreciate your enthusiasm. That it's wonderful to have people that are genuinely caring about their community, and we will put your energies whenever available to good use. I assure you. And then secondly, I can only answer what happened to you on a personal note. I kept steeling myself for you being hit by the car. And in fact, you were, just not in the traditional way. And I wish that we didn't live in a world where people felt that it was okay to do something just personally terrible to someone. But I will say that it's not, and I wish I didn't have to say this, it's not just your neighborhood. Those neighborhoods that have nice trails where when you're on a bike, those people have sometimes, rude things done to them as well. So while it hurts your soul, and it hurts my heart to hear that, that's just, that's just a big problem in the world today. And the only way you can answer that is with kindness, and just hope that people learn better. But I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm thrilled that you had a helmet on. So continue to be the example in your community. And for heaven's sake, stay involved, because your community needs you. My soapbox for the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I really appreciate your comments. I know I'm totally off track. Anyone else have comments to make today? So we have reached, if there's not any more comments, we have reached item number 8, which is our second citizens participation. This is the time set aside again at the end of the meeting for public comment. Just a reminder that comments will be limited to the first 500 words, with the remaining 500 words included in the written record of today's meeting. Ms. Lively, do we have any public comment for the second period?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Again, Reagan Lively for the record. There are no public comments at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to all the staff for your time today. Committee, thank you very much. We will adjourn this meeting. I will tell you that our next meeting, it's a dreadful day. Our next meeting is tax day, April 15th. I think it's tax day. We got a reprieve in 2020. I'm guessing we're not going to in 2021. So get your taxes ready before you come to the meeting on the 15th. My guess is it's going to be virtual again, but wait to hear from staff on that one. So everybody be careful out there, wear your mask, and we'll see you in April. Thank you so much. Take care.